Alright. Test. Let me see. Make sure everything's working right. Alright, mic's working well, looks like. So, welcome to my live. I'm gonna be covering a few videos tonight that I think my community would like. I definitely was entertained by them. We'll be reacting to them, having conversation, and we'll go from there. Please make sure to subscribe, like the videos, please. Wait for my computer to load here. Few good topics to cover today for sure. I'm actually going to be uploading a video of my friend Mike, and also a couple more that will make everyone think. Just want to make sure everything's working properly here. There we go. Alright. Cover today for sure. Alright. Yeah, Mike sounds pretty good from what I see. Just for conversation, I think it's a pretty good mic, but let me pull up these videos and we'll go from there. I may open the phone lines depending on how many people are watching the video. Welcome to the live. Looks like my internet's kind of slow. The fastest internet you could get with Spectrum, but it's kind of slow. The stream is obviously taking some of the speed away from it, but it's okay. Just gotta be a little patient. So skip frames detected. Alright. Everything, but you could hear me. That's a good thing. Let's see, let me watch and see what's going on here. Just want to get right to the videos, you know? So skip frames detected. Alright, so I could hear myself. That's a good thing. I might need to close some of these windows out. I'm kind of slow right now. So I can hear myself, that's a good thing. Alright, so I pulled up the task manager so I can close some of these windows out. I hope the computer run a little bit faster. Sorry about the echo or the voice in the background. There we go, okay. Perfect. Task manager, when you pull it up, usually ends up fixing it. And then you can put priorities on whatever you're doing. Anyways, yep, here we go. Sorry for the delay, y'all. Whoever's watching, looks like just one so far. Alright. It's gonna be an interesting live tonight for sure. Here we go, okay. So, the first video I'm gonna post up is actually from my let me let this load a little bit. I'm still live, that's a good thing. There we go. There we go, okay. So the first one's on the Nick Shirley Act. We'll post the video up here, play it for y'all. Hopefully everything works. There we go, okay. Copy. into here, browser source, paste. Alright. Let me make sure everything's working fine here. Oh, it's just loading now. Doesn't look like the video's playing, so y'all give me one moment. Just have to fix this. And because I need to add the audio source. Forgot to do that. And to kill. Alright, so that should fix the problem.
Here we go. And this is why we have this right here. Look at Nick Shirley, right? This is Nick Shirley. He's finding fraud and abuse, and they don't want other journalists to do this as well. Listen to this.
Yeah, they're trying to make it so citizen journalists or just average Americans who are going about seeing what's happening inside their community, they're trying to scare them from talking about potential fraud taking place inside of these communities. And think about it. They're literally willing to impose a $10,000 fine or imprisonment if you go and seek to find out the truth about a location that could potentially be fraudulent inside your own neighborhood.
Nick, let's just kind of play out that hypothetical. So whether you were in Minnesota, you also went to California, you would go up to the Quality Leering Center, a clearly fake daycare in Minnesota. There's your shirt. Yes, always on. And you would attempt to see if there's any children inside, right? And somebody comes out and talks to you. And now that person who's there possibly committing fraud could file a complaint in California that Nick Shirley is harassing me online, right? That's how it would work in effect, and then you would either see a year in jail or a $10,000 fine?
Correct. That's what it sounds like. And it sucks because inside these states like Minnesota and California, they've been proven to let fraud take place inside these immigrant communities.
Yep, they let fraud continue to happen. Can you believe that? That is the reality that's going on. It says right here, just in California, Democratic lawmakers just voted to move forward with the Stop Nick Shirley Act because they are terrified of fraud. That's right there. They want to criminalize investigative journalism against fraud. They're panicking. They're panicking, guys. This is serious. This is so serious that no one is talking about it enough. Mainstream media should be talking about this every single moment or day at least.
Outrageous. I just made a motion in the Assembly to block the Mia Bonta bill. Motion to re-refer AB 2624, the Stop the Nick Shirley Act, back to the Privacy Committee. Assembly Republicans are here to debate fraud.
Mr. DeMaio.
AB 2624, or the Stop Nick Shirley Act. The reason why we are asking it to be re-referred to the Privacy Committee is that the author of this bill misrepresented contents of the bill, lied to committee members. That would basically ban Nick Shirley from posting videos exposing fraud in California. Section 6218.19 prohibits an individual from posting a video online if the fraud organization says you can't do that. The fraud organization can then, quote, seek injunctive and declaratory relief in a court of competent jurisdiction. We have got to stop this bill. And I just gave the state assembly members the chance to strike the bill from the record, which basically would kill the bill. Democrats in the state assembly voted to keep and protect her bill and advance it on.
Can you believe that? That's right. They're accepting fraud and abuse going on. So you can't even post it. So let's say you found fraud. You normally you want tipsters, you want people to say, oh, please let us know if you have fraud and abuse going on. No, not in California. They're putting push forward in a bill that if you start finding some fraud or abuse and you put it online, you can subject to go to fine. You get a fine and go to jail. That is crazy. He's called it the AB 2624 bill. I'm gonna look it up again in a second here. I got right here AB 2624 bill right here going on. Check this out, guys. This is actually Fox News is pretty much the only one that's talking about it. And you know, Fox is more right, but it still should be more people.
Privacy for, well, again, quote, immigration service providers. I know what that means. Lets people keep addresses confidential, ban sharing photos. Victim can seek up to $4,000 in damages, maybe more. Nick, I used to practice a little bit of this law. I don't think this is going to pass constitutional muster. It sounds like something you'd expect in Europe or maybe Canada.
Well, when has California cared anything about the Constitution, right? They've already eliminated the Second Amendment, so may as well eliminate the First Amendment out there as well. And you know, they're trying to act like, oh, they're serious about removing fraud out there. No, what they're doing is, instead of eliminating the fraud, they're eliminating the people that are trying to expose the fraud.
On the fraud.
That's the goal,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's a great point. Remember, it was the free speech movement that kicked off at Berkeley in California. So much for that. That's all out the window. Nick, we were both in Minneapolis together. It's great to see you tonight, my friend. And coming up.
That was Nick Sorter right there. Nick Sorter. She said initially that it probably wouldn't hold muster. I'm going to make sure I look at that up one more time what she says. Just check this out one more time.
Privacy for, well, again, quote, immigration service providers. I know what that means. Lets people keep addresses confidential, ban sharing photos. Victim can seek up to $4,000 in damages, maybe more. Nick, I used to practice a little bit of this law. I don't think this is going to pass constitutional muster. It sounds like something you'd expect in Europe or maybe Canada.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure she said that. A lot of people are like sleeping on this one, I think so. But you know what? It's just the same thing. You find the problem, and they're upset of the person who found the problem instead of the actual problem. That's Nick Sorter right there. That's Nick Sorter right there. If you don't know how he looks right there, I see how he looks. He's pretty much out there. Then the other guy, this is Nick Shirley right here, Nick Shirley. He is out there on the ground, straight out. Very young man, is doing well. I think he is. He's doing very well. They're really trying to get Nick Shirley. I was thinking like maybe they're not, but I think they really are. They're fearful. Check this out. I would be too if I was a thief and stealing stuff and someone's exposing it. Here we go.
So what do you think about all this hospice fraud? Sir, you're in the Cybertruck, driving away, taking money from old people. Yet he's just driving away in his Cybertruck, won't even answer any questions. Let's see, we have another rich person as well that's getting rich off this hospice. This guy's leaving as well. So the two people that walked out of Holy Angels, they're in a brand new Cybertruck and a new BMW. How lucrative of a business is hospice? I'm seeing a Cybertruck, you're in a nice BMW. It's good? Yeah, because it looks like, for instance, Guardian of Angels, that used to be here, $4.8 million they built the state of California. And how many clients do you guys have?
Brother, do you have a badge? Do I need to answer your question?
I'm just curious.
It's not mine. I just work.
Yeah. You must be getting paid pretty well, right?
Bro, this is my parents, bro.
Do your parents run the hospice?
They don't work.
No. Who's that guy in the Cybertruck? He's your uncle. So it's like a family business to own the hospices. But why was he walking out of the hospice then too?
Brother, can you leave me alone?
Like these hospices, there's nothing inside of them.
If it's not you guys, how come you're in the newest BMW and the newest Cybertruck?
Brother, because
I can only imagine what the guy is in charge is
because of hospice, brother, leave me alone.
Just all the other hospices? Do you like taking care of old people? Like, are you the one going out visiting the hospice patients, sir? Uh-oh, he's gonna have to do another point turn.
Yeah, you guys are in my fucking way. Move.
Well, you could just go that way. What's the key to opening up a hospice if I wanted to open up one? Because you're in the family business of hospices. If I want to open my own? What do you do for work here?
Huh?
What do you do for work here?
Why?
Oh, we're just looking around. We're seeing all these hospices, so we're just curious.
Well, I don't know, man.
Word got out that I was inside of the plaza and all the fraudsters started hopping in their cars, leaving the scene.
Excuse me. Let's see if they can just answer our questions really quick. Hello, can we ask you a quick question? Driving out in a brand new M8. They can't get out that easy. How can I get an M8 as well? Should I open up a hospice? Driving out in a brand new M8 BMW M8 competition. Listen to this thing. This is the sound of hospice money. And this is the guy who said he's fat because of Dr. Oz. His business is not open today. Seems like this mafia right here is naming all of their companies after the word angel. We have Angels of Valley Hospice. We have Angels of Haven, Angels of Peace.
I need you to understand this, guys. This whole area supposed to be all different types of businesses. That's hospice and all different types. And yet, it's not even enough room for all these clients if they did have them. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy.
And there you have it, just fraud and abuse right in front of our face. And they're trying to stop Nick Shirley from being able to expose that. Ridiculous. So moving on to the next video, I'm going to go over video from the Brandon Lehman show. I would recommend y'all to follow that YouTube. Does a lot of good content. Watched the video earlier and wanted to share it with you guys. So watching, please tell me what you think. And I'll be right back.
The inflation rate itself was 2.7% in the most recent read year over year versus it got to a high of 9% under Biden. Stocks are at record highs. Unemployment is 4.2%. That's full employment. The GDP was 3%. The border is actually secure. We've got trade deals with EU, Japan, many more in the works, and trillions of dollars of foreign investment coming here. Iran's nuclear ambitions have been set back indefinitely. And I just wrote down a few things. So I just have to ask you, where is the calamity that you're talking about? And it almost seems like for Democrats, socialism is the answer to these problems, or I don't know, an end of democracy or something. We just don't get it.
Oh my God, that was brutal. Smash the like button if you loved seeing Walmart Obama just get destroyed with facts. But the point is, the Democrats were so used to a cozy, cushy media that would lie on their behalf, that would deceive on their behalf, that would propagandize on their behalf. And so for 4 years, they never once had to tell the truth. And every time they went on television, they could comfortably expect that the interview would be loaded with nothing but softball underhand questions. And maybe, just maybe, there might be one real question in there, but they never got pressed on it, and the host certainly wouldn't ask any follow-ups. But this is CNBC, baby. This is the business news. So here they are asking him how it feels to be so grossly wrong about the results of Trump's tariffs.
For the last several months, the Democratic Party, for the most part, has been publicly suggesting that because of these tariffs, that the economy was going to falter, that there was going to be a massive recession. And for whatever reason, that has not happened. And I'm curious why you think that hasn't happened, and whether you think it was a mistake to be as critical as you have been.
Well, good morning. Great to be with you. Donald Trump promised on day one that costs were going to go down. Costs haven't gone down. They've gone up. What we have seen, in fact, is job creation go down almost to record low levels.
I don't know if you caught what he said at the end, but it reveals the true disturbing nature of the modern Democrat. They are actively rooting against America experiencing any kind of success simply because that would be good for Donald Trump. You heard the first guy rattle off just a handful of stats. The country is doing well. Trillions of dollars of foreign investment means that people are going to be building factories. Businesses are going to be expanding. People are going to be getting hired right here in America. These are all wonderful things that a normal Democrat would be celebrating. But instead you have Hakeem saying, well, America still might be headed down the wrong track. And he says it hopefully, gleefully, opportunistically, before they even started freaking out and running to the defense of every criminal illegal alien. They could have at least stopped and said, congrats to Trump for closing the border. But they didn't even do that. They couldn't highlight that one win. That was one of their main points on the campaign trail. The border's broken. It needs legislation. We're trying to fix it. Donald Trump blocked it. Okay, well, if that was a Democrat priority just a second ago, why can you not at least applaud Donald Trump for fixing that problem? But they ask Hakeem Jeffries what the Democrat Party stands for, because from their perspective, it seems like they just exist to oppose Trump. Here's Walmart Obama's answer to that question.
Well, actually, I'll tell you what we stand for, Joe. It's pretty clear. As Democrats, we believe in a strong floor and no ceiling. In America, you work hard, you play by the rules, you should be able to live the good life. And there should be no ceiling on your success, on your capacity to do anything in the United States of America. That's the great promise of this country. At the same period of time, there should be a strong floor.
Now, we know he doesn't believe what he said about unlimited upside. That's clear because the Democrat parties want to tax billionaires out of existence to pay for that ever-rising floor for the poorest. But he certainly believes in the floor. In fact, that's where all Democrats want people to exist in, because we'll all be permanent government dependents at that point. The Democrats' power will explode in significance. Now, obviously, we need a safety net for people who are down on hard times. And I think that most Americans would agree. In fact, they'd be happy to contribute to that safety net. But the problem with wanting that floor to be so strong, as Hakeem said, is you can't give people a government-funded life that is on par, if not better, than the life they'd be able to live if they were working full time. Because then what's their incentive to ever get off of it? It becomes lifestyle preservation at that point. Lazy people will be on food stamps, Section 8, and government health care for their entire life if you let them. Yes, we have to make sure nobody starves in America. Yes, we have to make sure children aren't out on the street. Yes, we don't want down on their luck single mothers to not be able to give their children health care. But that system only works if the people who find themselves on it are simultaneously doing everything within their power to get off of it. And that's the problem of the Democrats' philosophy of free everything, this strong floor, because all they're doing is using semantics. What they're really talking about is socialism. If people have to get up every single day and bust their ass at work, and they are living a worse quality of life than someone who sits at home all day and mooches off of the government, that system will eventually crumble because the government can only afford to pay that person's free lifestyle from the taxes they get from the person who is working every day. And here's where they question Hakeem Jeffries on Zohran Mamdani and his socialism. And this is where Hakeem really begins to rage.
And how do you think about the message of socialism or being a socialist and what that may portend for the Democratic Party?
Well, I think, as I indicated, listen, my view about what we as Democrats stand for, what we're fighting for, we need to lower the high cost of living in the United States of America. We need to fix our broken healthcare system, and we need to clean up corruption in Washington, D.C., so we actually have a government that works for the American people, for everyday Americans, for hardworking American taxpayers, as opposed to working for the privileged few, which is what the Republican plan is right now.
I'm curious where you land on things like, freezing rent, free buses, giving away, free food at supermarkets and the like, and what you just think of that idea and what it represents.
Listen, Zohran is going to have to make the case to the people of New York City, including in the neighborhoods that I represent, that these ideas, which are designed to address affordability.
Do you agree with those approaches as a solution? Look, you and I agree. Affordability is this number one issue in New York. It's the number one issue in the country. And so he has done a great job of identifying that issue and articulating that issue. The question is how you attack that issue. And what I'm asking you is whether you agree with the solutions that he's offering.
Now, I cut the clip right there because I didn't want it to run for too long, but I'll tell you his answer. He starts advocating for more homes to be built to combat the low supply and bring down housing costs. Advocating for free market capitalism as the solution to this problem, which is completely contradictory to his previous statement about believing there should be a very strong floor, which includes rent freezes that directly disincentivize builders from building the very new homes that you need. The problem with the Democrats, and it's really highlighted through their leader Hakeem Jeffries, is they have no identity and no direction. They're trying to play both sides of the fence. Oh yeah, we love socialism and we love socialist policies that supposedly help out the working class because that's what the radical base wants to hear. But then they'll say, we're also pro-capitalism, we're pro-free market solutions, we believe in private sector partnerships, because they also want the backing of their rich donor class. But the problem is they're not good at all at explaining either one of those positions. Both of them sound like incoherent word salad rambling, not somebody who truly believes something speaking with conviction. And so the host calls Hakeem Jeffries out for his blatant hypocrisy. And this is where Hakeem starts to scream at them.
We're talking about free market. This is why I wanted to go there, because there's sort of you're talking about a free market on one side and being an advocate for a free market on one side, but at the same time, we just had a whole conversation about an individual who is running for mayor in New York City who is genuinely titling themselves a socialist. And you're saying that you might ultimately support them. And so I'm trying to understand the distinction here.
No. I'm trying to understand why you would spend a significant amount of time asking me about the Democratic nominee who's not even the mayor, and it's not a legitimate point to raise about a president who is regularly attacking the free market economy, bullying corporations, bullying universities, bullying law firms. He just recently called upon the CEO of Goldman Sachs to fire their chief economist. That's not problematic. He's the leader of the free world, the president of the United States of America. He's in office right now, and he's attacking the market-based economy. Now, I said
I love how the guy who ripped Hakeem Jeffries at the very beginning never gets another question in. And I think that's because he wasn't interested in conducting an interview and listening to Hakeem Jeffries lie the entire time. He was speaking for people like me, people like you guys, who want to call Hakeem out for being a farce. But as you can see, even the other guy who's conducting the interview has been interrupting Hakeem the entire time, clarifying, specifying his question, not letting Hakeem weasel his way out of a non-answer. But he has to keep interrupting him and cutting him off because it wastes everybody's time hearing Hakeem Jeffries rattle off about this delusional fairy tale imagination world. And that's why Walmart Obama starts freaking out. He's tired of being exposed as unscrupulous, as having no moral compass, a walking contradiction. Instead, as he clearly states to them, he's here to talk about Donald Trump. He wants to talk about all the bad things Trump is doing, all the harm Trump is causing, all the fascism Donald Trump is ushering in. He doesn't want to talk about the lack of convictions from himself and the Democrat Party. He's admitting without saying it, no, I don't like Zohran Mamdani, but I can't condemn him because we're so desperate for voters that the Democrat approval rating might get even worse if the radical socialist base feels like the leader of the Democrat Party isn't with them. They are politically backed into a corner. But in the middle of Hakeem's Trump deranged meltdown, the host fact checks Hakeem and reminds him that both Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden have been accused of doing the same thing he's condemning Trump of. And this is where Hakeem just finally loses it. Watch.
Just in fairness, and I wonder whether you think that they're the same or they're not the same. There have been people that have criticized Elizabeth Warren for years for individually attacking and going after and naming specific CEOs in America, specific companies in America, over again and over again. President Biden famously didn't invite Elon Musk to the White House, probably caused him to actually support this president originally. And so the question is whether those are the same or they're different.
It's interesting that we're talking about Joe Biden, no longer the president, Elizabeth Warren, who's a senator, as opposed to Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America, his administration, as well as complete control of government in Washington, D.C., the House and the Senate. That's the problem that we are confronting right now.
So there you have it. I mean, ridiculous. There's so much I could say on that video. I can't really say much right now because it really articulates everything right in front of our eyes. He calls him Walmart Obama. That's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, he's arguing against capitalism while arguing for socialism. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Now, I do agree with what he said about the healthcare system. I think the healthcare system in America there should be more socialism occurring in that system. I don't think medicine or doctor care anything. I mean, when someone's dying, human rights is you know, even though I think the hospital's not supposed to decline you, but what if you need a transplant? Do people pay more? See, that's all stuff that I don't understand in the medical industry, but I think there should be more government oversight and involvement in the Medicaid of the medical industry. But that's just my opinion. But moving forward, I'm gonna show y'all one last video. It's on Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck really articulated everything that's going on in this administration very well, and it's interesting what he talks about. So, and I'll be right back. I'll start this video. I'm watching though while I block out the cam. It's just I have stuff I'm taking care of also. Sorry about that. Also while I put these videos up. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to get more of a reaction to it, to the last video. But I mean, it speaks for itself, right?
America has a choice.
Sorry about that, y'all. So let me start this video. I'll be right back.
America has a choice right now. And it's going to be a tough choice. And I fear I know which choice we're going to make because it's human nature. And it's human nature if we don't have somebody articulating what is happening. And this would require the president to articulate the grand vision and say, look, this is where we're going. This is what JFK did with the moonshot. It's really FDR. This is what he did with the, with the New Deal, which really made things much worse, but that's a different story. It takes somebody to say, we're going here. It's going to be a tough journey, but this is where we're going, okay? In 20 years from now, we are going to be listening to people say one of two things. That was the moment. It was probably 2026. That was the moment that America didn't turn the corner. It just all began to fall apart right there. Or they're going to say 2026 probably was the year where it all started to come together and they turned the corner, and that's how they survived. But we are at that corner. Make no mistake. And that corner is either going to be turned or not. And if it's not turned, it will if it fails in 25 years, we are no longer here, or we're so diminished that it's, no longer really the United States as we know it. It'll be because of one of two things. Either Donald Trump is wildly wrong, or we just couldn't get past the fact that the pain to get to where we need to go is going to take time, and it's going to be tough to weather. But I think there is a plan right now, and you are seeing it in action, that actually saves us. This is why I'm so optimistic, because we never had anybody. Remember, I've said for years, where is the guy who's got the big vision? Where is the guy who's going to point to the moon and say, we're going there? We have it. He's just not pointing to it. He's just not doing a good job of articulating the big plan. You kind of have to put it together yourself. Now, I could be wrong in putting this together. If not, if I'm wrong on this, and it works, then he's just the luckiest man ever, because he's got all the pieces. And I just don't believe he's not seeing this as a grand unifying theory. So let me give you this grand unifying theory, because we are looking at the most dramatic and possibly peaceful power shift in modern history. Everything is interconnected. And Americans aren't looking at that. And I think, I know this part is true because I asked Donald Trump this probably 60 or 80 days into his term. I said, you looked at the post-World War II world and you said, none of this works, didn't you? And you're redesigning all of it. And he said, yes. So imagine, let's start there. A president looks at everything that we had built since 1945, all of the systems that we all know are broken, and he says, none of this stuff works. And so I'm going to dismantle it and change it because, we're funding the world's defense. We're fighting everybody else's war. We're subsidizing our own decline. And Donald Trump is stepping in and going, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. Okay? If this is right, he is building something historic. He is building a new American economic empire. And here's how he's doing it. Energy dominance, hemisphere security, technical supremacy, a military that is like no military. I mean, I'm actually afraid of our military in a good way, but if it goes dark, it could be a very bad way. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. A reborn manufacturing heartland. This is an economy that is not being reborn, but reimagined for the 21st century. And one that, let's not kid ourselves, is not going to pay down our debt. But the strategy would be to grow the economy to the point to where the debt is less of a problem. Still be a problem, but I'm not sure that even works. But if he is right, it does prevent the collapse of the American dollar on so many fronts. Okay? If this war ends without spreading, and this theory that I'm going to lay out for you, these 6 things, if this is what it is, it will all have been done without the kind of global war that has defined the 20th century. This is America reclaiming its golden age, just smarter, stronger, and sovereign. First, let's start with energy dominance, because without energy, we can't do anything. It's the foundation of everything. Trump, in his first term, made us a net exporter. Okay, never before in human history or American history had that happened. Then in the second term, he unleashed it. Record production, deregulation, National Energy Dominance Council, the LNG exports all exploding. Why? Why is this important to put first? Because energy is leverage, and energy we must have if we're going to be dominant. When we crippled Iran's oil exports and we seized control of Venezuela's massive reserves, we took Maduro in Operation, what did he call that one? Absolute Resolve. And then we put American companies in charge of that. Do you notice the world didn't scramble to the Mideast and that chaos? They began to come to us. Argentina's fields align under our umbrella. And Europe's now one of our biggest buyers. Hundreds of billions in deals for American oil and gas, replacing the Russian supplies. Now that this is happening over in the Strait of Hormuz, and that becomes so unstable, you can track it. You can watch the ships and track them. They are making U-turns in oceans and turning around and coming to American ports instead of going to the Middle East. The world is buying American energy in ways that we've never seen before. Russia and China are losing their pricing power. So we become the undisputed energy superpower of the 21st century without the Middle East quagmire, if this works. That freedom lets us walk away from being the globe's babysitter. When Donald Trump says, I'm not going to get you into wars, that's what he means. We have to pull out. We can't just leave the world the way it was because we depend on them for too much, for oil and everything else. We can't create a vacuum. We've got to create some framework to keep that stable, and we pull out. And then we become the stable place to be able to have the world buy our energy. Second, with ending the World War II burden and forging real peace through strength, okay? For 80 years, we carried NATO and the Middle East on our backs. Trump came in the first term and said, pay up. And they started to. NATO allies put, 5% of their GDP in defense spending. Never happened before. Now, Europe is only stepping up because in the second term, he's made it crystal clear. We're going to defend our hemisphere, you defend yours. And in the Middle East, first term, Abraham Accords. That was the beginning. In the second term, he's built the Council of Peace. Now, this is a new body, turning former enemies into partners at the table. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the UAE. They are now more Israel-friendly than Great Britain ever has been. And when we and Israel struck the nuclear program and the regime, did you notice they stayed on our side? Every nation is playing its role in its own security. It was Bahrain that went to the UN Security Council to ask permission to use force against Iran. Not America, not Israel, Bahrain. Now, America is sitting at the head of the table, but we're not carrying the load alone. And the hundreds of billions that once were flowing overseas now stay at home. We could pay down the debt. We could build factories. It's powering the future if this works. The third thing is the hemisphere first strategy. This is his 21st century Don Rowe doctrine, is what they're calling it. All of this stuff looked random at first. Greenland, everybody's like, what is he doing? Well, first he was securing rare earth minerals. And in the second term, he's secured those from all over the world, taking those minerals from China, breaking China's monopoly, and then locking in a new Arctic sea lane for the future of global trade. Nobody's talking about that. Then he forced the EU to take a stand. When they denied us airspace during the Iran operation, we found out who our real allies are, okay? Which makes the Greenland case even more obvious, even to Europe itself. They're like, oh boy, we're screwed. Panama Canal, what was that all about? To eject the Chinese influence. Cuba, what's that about? We're squeezing them now. Pentagon said yesterday, be ready. We're starting to prepare for things in Cuba. That's getting Russia, Chinese, and all the Marxist lifelines out of, a place 90 miles from our shore. And Venezuela, Maduro is gone. Terror networks are being dismantled. Gangs defunded. Oil now flowing under our umbrella. That is a death blow. To whom? To BRICS. BRICS, Russia, China, Brazil. All BRICS wanted to challenge the petrodollar. Well, without Iran and without Venezuela, they can't do it. I mean, this is really genius. If this is the plan, it's genius. Russia and China are kicked out of our hemisphere. I mean, that's what this is all about. Our resources, shipping lanes, borders secure. No more rivals building bases in our hemisphere. And then you have the military restoration. This is the fourth thing. And I would also add the quiet revolution in space that nobody's talking about. Do you remember just 4 years ago, how humiliated we were with the Afghani withdrawal? The world was laughing at our hollowed out force, and we had guys in dresses. Trump has completely turned that around in 18 months and built it into the most respected and feared military, I think I can safely say, ever on planet Earth. Precision, strength, and peace through overwhelming power. Then you add this, which nobody is putting into place, the Kennedy Space Center. Why should we go to the moon? Because the coast of Florida is going to be the world's spaceport. No one is really talking about the master plan of what's happening in space. If you go into the show prep today, you're going to find all these stories about how important space is becoming with just, what China is doing to help Iran with satellites, okay? I'm going to tell you, if I have time today, about a space war that is actually going on. I mean, it's like Star Wars up in space right now. But the moonshot is critical. Record launches, master plans, on track to dominate the moon and the space economy. If you don't understand the space economy, read up on it, because this is like AI. It's an entirely new world, okay? New industries, new wealth, new American leadership in the final frontier. Now 5, declawing China without getting into a war. That's a big one. How do you beat China? Because their plan is 2027 or 2028 to be dominant. How do you declaw them without getting into a war? Well, tariffs, tech controls, reshoring our factories, getting control of the rare earth minerals. All of these things have been done, and America yawns. Plus the $18 trillion of investment for our industrial base. Even if only half of that comes through, that's $9 trillion to build factories here in America. And then you're not going to build them tomorrow, okay? All of this takes time. That's the frustrating part. America First AI, tied to cheap, abundant American energy. So we surge way ahead of them in the real arms race of this century, AI, while China is getting starved of markets and minerals. Manufacturing boom here at home, but it takes time. Debt could get paid down, but we're not going to. Our plan will be grow our way out of weakness. Okay. 6. This is the one that people are not going to understand for 10 years. I don't think anybody's going to understand any of these. If these things work, I don't think any of us is going to understand them. One day you'll wake up and you'll start to hear people on TV going, Trump was actually really quite smart. He's been dismantling the globalist machine. The globalist machine was engineered to manage our decline and eventual collapse, okay? All of this wiring was put into this engine to be a governor on it, to keep it down, and manage the decline so it would fall into a new system that they were building. So in the first term, he takes the economy because it's not as governed as it is now. and he brings it so it's roaring back, okay? Then comes COVID, the perfect crisis for the World Economic Forum's Great Reset. They waited for that. I mean, I think they planned that actually. But that was not organic growth again. That was controlled demolition of the American markets and the system that we all have. Open borders, endless regulations, Green New Deals, hollowing out of our industry, a deliberate weakening of American sovereignty so the elites could build the world in the way they wanted to do. Biden's policies just poured gasoline on that fire and, quite honestly, nearly nailed our economic coffin shut. Trump, thank God he didn't win in 2020 because he watched and he learned. He has nearly collapsed the WEF's entire agenda, but he hasn't killed it. All of these people are waiting to see what happens in the next 2 elections. He's building this new American empire, and he has to simultaneously neutralize the globalist forces that don't want us to be sovereign, don't want us to be dominant. That's why fixing the economy is slower this time. The American economy is a V12 or a V16 underneath that hood. Man, that thing just cooks. When it's right, it cooks. Well, it had been so governed and destroyed by the globalist agenda, it was running on 3 cylinders, and everything else in this thing is almost shot. So he has to rebuild the engine, rip out all of the old wiring, all of the stuff that they broke or intentionally put in there to slow it down, to keep us dependent and not dependent and not declining. I'm telling you, if this is true, this is huge. And the problem is, the biggest battle is with us. Because if you don't see this vision, you don't know where we are, and you won't understand how critical it is to keep the power that we have, to secure the House and the Senate and the White House. Have to. And you have to do it, even if Congress does nothing, honestly. Even if they do nothing, you have to keep this going for the next term. Otherwise, I mean, long-term institutions, all entrenched bureaucracies, the globalist networks, the NGOs, the legacy media, they're all just holding on until 2028, praying that the plan stalls, okay? If we lose now, the old schemes come raging back with a vengeance. This is the final play. That's why I said at the beginning of the hour, in 20 years, 10 years, historians are going to look back and say that was the moment America turned the corner, or that was the moment it died. If you don't do any of the stuff that he's doing now, the big, huge structural changes globally, you can't fix the economy. If you're not willing to do that, all he has to do is he has a few levers that he can play with to get us to rev up a little bit, but it's not going to last. You've got to do these big, huge things. And then comes the economy. That's just my view. I could be completely wrong. But we have to be crystal clear. I mean, I could be black-pilled and say this is all just chaos. I don't think it is. It's too, when you step back and look at it, it's too orchestrated. It all would fall in our favor if it works. So it's like saying, yeah, humans, we climbed out of the premortal slime. You can believe that. I just don't think that makes any sense. Energy powers AI and factories. Hemispheric security protects our supply chains. The Middle East and NATO pullbacks free our budget and our boys. The Council of Peace proves a new model, shared responsibility. By the way, I haven't had a chance to tell you about what's happening with Lebanon. On Lebanese television today, for the first time, there is a Lebanon flag and an Israeli flag behind the anchor. And Israel is now telling Fox News this morning that the negotiations that are going, not only for peace, but they may end in the Abraham Accords. You get them into the Abraham Accords, all bets are off. Everything changes. It proves, to me at least, that part of this is right. You have Greenland and space securing the future. You have the war against the globalist reset to ensure that none of this gets reversed. Every single move this guy has made connects if you look at it from a bigger point of view. So, 25 years from now, was it chaos? Maybe. Did we finish this? Maybe. But I think they're going to look back if he's successful and say, you know what? He played the long game. He ended America's era of the world sucker. He took the Great Reset. He built an economic empire that rivals our greatest golden age. Energy, AI dominant, military supreme, hemispheric security, financial independence. You don't fight wars. You know, we're not paying their bills. We don't have to worry about taking some World Economic Forum's orders. We lead, we win, we thrive. The moves might look scattered, but if I'm correct, this is vision. This is what vision. We haven't seen vision like this. I've never seen this in my lifetime. This is vision, if I'm correct. And it is a long-term play. Looks scattered, but if I'm...
All right, everyone. So, let me, excuse me, turn that off. But anyways, look, listen. All I'm saying with these videos is, listen, I don't agree with a lot of people's views from any, and this is responding to Tanya. Exactly, Mike. I don't agree with everything Trump does, like most of y'all don't. Not every last single thing, maybe most of it, right? 90, 95%, 80% if you're more moderate like myself. But my point is, look at everything that he said. He wasn't fear-mongering anything that he was saying in that statement. Take the video for what it is. But first and foremost, I want to shout out everybody in the chat. I appreciate you all. I say myself, I'm one of the For Real family. Thank you, For Real Mike, for stopping by. I actually featured one of your videos, you covering the Nick Shirley Act in the beginning of the live, so make sure to please rewind and see yourself on screen again there, Mike. Shout outs to Tanya, Endeavor, shout outs to Dennis Herrera for stopping by. Thank you, Dennis. Shout outs to also Endeavor, I think I said your name. So yeah, everybody in the chat, I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Just watching the videos, a lot of support. But I'm just catching up. I've been reading all of your chats. I value everyone's opinion. Yeah, exactly. Mike does well. See, what I like about Mike and Dennis is they don't got time for the BS, for the lies, really, or for the insults, those two, which I wouldn't either. I'm trying to start my YouTube. I'm not saying that I'm gonna be not valuing everyone's opinion, and that's where I think that that's where I stand with them, and when they call out the lies, because I'll be at home watching the video and I see a blatant lie that's being said, and I'm just like Iran's winning the war. 76% of Americans disagree with the people who say Iran is winning the war. They're not. This war is about to be wrapped up. I feel like also Trump going after Venezuela and then Iran, those were all business plays. Look, the whole world now has to depend on America for oil. Whether you think it's morally right or he shouldn't have done it or not, the world, it's like Glenn Beck said earlier in the video, the world is no longer America's. America's no longer the world sucker. Point blank. Period. But yeah, I like what's going on so far. As long as we wrap up this Iran situation very soon. But a Lebanese flag and a Israeli flag next to each other, interesting. Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. We have to continue to put out content because. We're not going to be silenced. We're not going to be silenced. I feel like the silent majority, after what happened to Charlie Kirk, that's when we were just like, all right, enough is enough. He didn't deserve that. He did not deserve that. Even though many of his stances were controversial, he didn't deserve that. Whichever side did it, I'm not going to say it was the left or the right. Clearly, the story is it was just a radicalized individual who got a rifle, but that's all, I don't know, that's all going to play out in court. Yeah, I mean, Iran's Navy is, I think well, let's just say this. Iran's Navy knows is in the same levels as the Titanic. Like, it's all underwater. I mean, it's down there with the Titanic. So it's probably lower than the fish, actually, depending on what time of day it is. I know at night the fish come up, you know, higher to the water because it's cooler. But yeah, I mean, it's like Mike said in the chat. Yeah, America first, really. Whether you agree with everything, you know, that I agree with, America first. Yeah, definitely. Those. I mean, but Iran should have. This is all for. Yeah, I hope peace too. But also, it's not like if Trump didn't give, you know, those countries an ultimatum, or the leaders of those countries. He told Maduro, give up power, or worse. Maduro chose to call him out, and for worse. He told Iran, the Ayatollah in Iran, give up power or worse. Well, the Ayatollah in Iran got a lot worse because he's not here with us anymore. It's not like these warnings weren't put in place. So he's literally fixing law and order in America, and also fixing a lot of the issues that we've had, you know, you know, around the world. So I mean, yeah, I mean, see, but I would say if you were trying to be as peaceful as possible, wouldn't you as the American president go the route that Trump did? I mean, yeah, he blasted off a few bombs and all that, but it's better than boots on the ground and what we've had in Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, some conflicts need to be addressed, and with the way that Iran, you know, promotes terrorism throughout the world, that's a problem. I mean, yeah, we all want peace, of course. Everyone wants peace, but how do you achieve it? In other words, if you want peace amongst 5 people, but two of the people in the group make everything difficult, wouldn't you just push out the 2 people in the group, or do what you have to do to, you know, is what I'm saying? Like, and Iran and Venezuela were those 2 countries. Cuba's not much of an issue because Cuba, and then this was about China too. It's about the economic warfare with China, because with BRICS they were trying to undermine the petrodollar, and that's what Glenn Beck was talking about. They were trying to use gold with the BRICS system to undermine the petrodollar. So that's another concern. Yeah, peace through strength. I mean, if everyone agrees, then bingo, there you have peace, right? The danger is that it isn't authoritarianism, but in the USA you can't have authoritarianism because there's checks and balances that keeps every, you know, even though Trump presses those checks and balances, there's checks and balances. What do you mean by more extremely sturdy footstools endeavor? Please elaborate. But my view on all this is, I mean, it's like I said to Mike multiple times on his live. I said multiple times to Mike, Iran should have been addressed back in Clinton's time, if not earlier. Reagan, maybe. It should have been. I mean, even before that. I mean, 47 years. Mike, you said it over and over again. 47 years we've had these issues. So why, you know, I don't get it. And with Venezuela, I mean, obviously they can't compete with the military of the United States, but with Venezuela, there's an issue. Yeah, the Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies footstools. Okay, I get what you're saying about that. But yeah, you're right in that stance. I mean, also, we just have to continue, like you said, Tanya, that they're trying to silence us. We have to continue to use our freedom of speech. Also, I don't have a video on it, but what's everyone's opinion on the Louisiana shooter? They're saying it was well, I think I can say shooter. They're saying it was a domestic violence situation. He took out 7 of his kids. I don't want to get banned on here, but 7 of his kids plus another person, and he took out his partner also. Yeah, exactly. And also, legacy media has been exposed. We all know that the big media companies are a problem. They have a narrative. They never just cover the truth. They always, Or if they cover the truth, they'll give 90% of the truth and then take the other 10% to create some lie that fits the narrative, which it's never truly. So that's why you have to have good discernment these days and watch. Be careful what you watch, well, you don't have to so much be careful what you watch, but be careful what you believe. MS Now is out there spreading a lot of crazy stuff. I do agree with you on that, though, Mike. Peace through strength, that's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? We need to continue to be united for what we believe in. I think Stennis slid out, but I don't know if you would understand this point of view too, Mike. Me myself, with being born in America, right, born in the U.S., and also being Puerto Rican sometimes, like that's why I'm fighting this identity politics stuff. It's like I don't fit to a certain identity, but at the same time, Dennis understands that, and you may also, Mike, with being, you know, Republican in California, where it's like you can't relate so much with people of your cultural background because most of them disagree with you. Yeah, I mean, true. And actually, I saw a video about, you know, the lies that they're trying to say that he didn't get shot, and it shows his ear, it has bumps, showing obviously that, you know, effect of the bullet, and they showed a slow-mo bullet like passing by his ear, and you see where like literally like goes by the ear, like. So for people to say that it's not real, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for real, Mike. With California, they're extremely hard left-leaning. So I understand. You know, maybe that's why you started the channel. Maybe that's what inspired you to do it. But I'm just curious of how you've been able to, you know, maybe it's also picking friends that believe likewise to you and your, you know, it's more of a personal question also, because obviously I don't. It's more like asking how you're able to navigate. Me, myself, though, when I'm at work or with friends, I don't even do the arguing. I just be like, yeah, I agree, and then, you know, I just, whatever. Because I don't want to argue with people. That's what I got on YouTube for, right? Not so much on YouTube to argue, but on you know, on the internet, you can voice your opinion, and, you know, they don't really know you like that. What are you saying by the sound of a hot rod, Tanya? Oh, yeah, Nick Shirley, I just read the last comment. Yeah, Nick Shirley... See, we have to protect him because he's exposing the fraud, and you know he said he's had to up his security. I mean, he needs to be protected at all costs because you know he's exposing. I mean, it's not even from the people he's exposing right in front of you, whether it's that Somalian community or anywhere else that fraud is occurring, but it's more in the sense of the people behind the fraud. You know, I would say either the deep state or, you know. Whoever's doing all these things to undermine America. And the way they give the narrative that Trump is like doing all the stuff he's doing to take down America in a sense, it's just utter nonsense. It's lies. Why would he bother going through everything he's gone through? You know, his name's reputation, his family's reputation, you know, getting hit in the ear, the 37 felonies. Why would he go through all that if he didn't care about America? That's just my opinion. I mean, he went through the fire right in front of us, and people still, we all witnessed this, and people still have the nerve to, you know, not acknowledge it. It's ridiculous. Like some people call For Real with Mike, and they say, oh, well, there was never no immigration problem in America. We literally watched caravans of people going in through the southern border. We literally witnessed this. And it's like people forget what just happened a few years ago under Biden. Caravans and caravans and caravans of people. It was a topic on every news station. But all of a sudden people want to call in the mic and say that none of that ever happened. It's delusional. Or they just want to win the argument, and then, you know, that's the stand state play. I'm just going to lie the rest of the conversation. And that's when you call them out, Mike. That's when you're like, I'm not, you know, I don't got time for this. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to do this. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do the back and forth. And Dennis, too. I've seen Dennis in the chat, in his chats. People say some ridiculous stuff. some people are just not educated. I mean, I posted a video the other day in which I put, should Congress have limits to the terms, right? Term limits. You know what someone commented to me in the video? I left it up, actually, so everybody can see the stupidity of this comment. And I wish that person well, because they need to learn. But they said the elections are the term limits. What? That's how dumb some people are that vote in our system. They don't even understand the difference between elections and being elected and a term limit. Completely different. I had to respond to the comment. My response was, all right, well, if that was the case, and let's say there was no term limits to presidents, you know, Obama and Trump would run forever, right? Because there's no term limits. What are you talking about? You make absolutely no sense. That was my... I think everyone on here would agree with me on that. Like, it's ridiculous. But yeah, though, tonight I was just doing a really quick, short live. I actually wanted to, I'm thinking about, Mike, so are you thinking, I don't know if you're still here, but are you thinking about just doing 8 o'clock? Oh, sorry. Thinking about doing just 8 o'clock every night? Because I'm thinking about doing something with you in the sense, not with you, but like in a sense where you do your, yeah, Brandon Lehman's Zone is the name of the, yeah, make sure to subscribe to his YouTube. I'm already subscribed. He has some pretty good content. He always calls the left's hypocrisy and blatant delusion. Yeah, I be seeing you in the yeah. So Mike, are you just gonna be doing 8 o'clock every night? Because I tend to get home a little later, so I'm thinking about just doing like a post live every night that you go live, and just, you know, just having the crew come by and just have some more content and stuff to talk about. I want you guys to have as much content as possible. Obviously I'm not as my lives are not as put together well as Mike's, but I'm just learning as I go along. But it'll be somewhere where we could just react to the blatant hypocrisy of the phone calls and the delusion, and maybe even there'll be topics where we could discuss even further that you know, made us think and was like, okay, the left was right on that. Yeah, yeah, because he's the thing. I'm glad y'all brought that topic up, actually. And so the thing with the Brandon Lehman video, I mean, he's just exposing the blatant hypocrisy of Hakeem Jeffries. And that's what a lot of people on the left that argue for. Yeah, okay, so yeah, so I'm probably gonna, depending on when you start, I'll probably do a post live after you, and it'd be pretty cool to. Because you shout me out a lot, so I would love for you know, to work, you know, after you, and I would never want to go live while you're going live, because, you know, a lot of the viewership that I get is from your live, so I'd be shooting myself in the foot. But yeah, with Hakeem Jeffries, he was just exposing the blatant hypocrisy of like, he was arguing against capitalism while arguing for capitalism, and then finally when the guy called him out on his blatant hypocrisy, he starts going, he falls back to the same, oh, Trump is evil, Trump is the worst, and he's the real problem with America, and he's destroying the economy. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of Americans that voted for Trump, like myself, that are just business minds. I'm not saying I'm an entrepreneur, I have millions of dollars in the bank, but I tend to say I'm pretty fiscally responsible, and I think that's what we need more in America. And then I also put in Mike's video on Nick Shirley. We need to continue to put this out. We cannot have the Nick Shirley Act, because the thing is, California in a sense is like a test state. It's like an experiment. If they can get it passed through California, and it, you know, it survives and becomes law, then other states are going to start to do this, like New York, like let's say maybe even, I mean, it's always a purple state, Pennsylvania. And that's an attack on our freedom of speech. So, Mike, I'm glad you put up that video. And if you don't mind, I use some of your videos on my live just to get you more viewership, and also to, you know, help, help explain where I'm coming from too. Mike and myself agree on a lot of things. Maybe on a few things we disagree, like religious views and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean I judge him in any way. I mean, I'm not God to judge anyone, and it's just my own personal views. That's all. I'm reading what Endeavor put here. As of now, the California State Assembly consists of 60 Democrats and 20 Republicans. The Democratic Party holds a super majority in the assembly. Yeah, and that's a lot of big cities too. Here where I'm at in Louisville, it's like there's a Democrat mayor, and I would imagine, well, not in the state, but in the a lot of big cities have Democrat mayors. And I mean, I don't know if I need to get more involved in local politics myself. Sometimes the videos that I put up, it's like me looking at myself in the mirror too, and going, yeah, I need to know who my mayor is, who the state legislator is, who the governor is. These are things we need to know because these are things that affect us locally. Excuse me. Wow, 60 to 20 though, that's a huge majority in. Wow, that's crazy because I don't know how y'all do it, Mike. I don't know how y'all live in California because I used to live in New York City and it was ridiculously expensive. California is even worse. I don't know how people are able to do it. I mean, obviously it's got to do with, you got to make good money to live in those states, and I don't want to get into, speaking on that, but because I don't like to speak on anyone else's finances or my own, but at the same time, I mean, unless you're homeless, I don't think you can live broke in California or, job, check to check paycheck, dead end job. I think it'd be impossible. That's how Florida's getting too, not so much because of the policies, but because everyone's moving down there, so it's driving up the prices on the rent in the homes. Florida's one of the fastest moving economies, so is Texas. It's difficult though, when I want to look up also, I'm curious on this topic, what the tax rate, let's say in California, right? How much does someone pay in taxes on $1 million? So in California, in taxes, right? I went to look that up. Okay, so check this out. $144,000 on $1 million is paid in taxes. Plus you have to pay 37%. So by the time you make that $1 million, let's see, $144,000 plus 347,000. Wow, 491,000. So on $1 million, you only keep $509,000. So you don't even keep you barely keep half of your money if you're able to make, $1 million. I mean, the question so much, in my opinion, also isn't how much people are getting taxed. It's what's being done with the taxes, right? So if you're taking $491,000 from someone who makes them $1 million, should you still have a homeless problem? Should you still have issues with the school system? Should you still have roads that are broken, bridges that need repair? That's where it's like, what are we doing here? That's my problem with Democrats. It's overtaxing, and then at this point, now they're saying everything's free. I mean, you guys are the biggest proponents of taxes. So the only way you can make everything free is you gotta tax someone. That's the only way. And then you add gas tax. Wow, 92 cents per gallon. Endeavor also said Colorado Assembly, the House has 65 members and the Senate has 35 members, with Democrats holding a significant number of seats in both chambers. Yep. What's your guys' opinions? Since I know you brought up Colorado, what's your guys' opinions on Donald Trump making legal psychedelics for medical work? I'm curious what you guys think about that also. According to what Joe Rogan said, people are able to be healed from their in a sense from their or medicated from their drug addiction, depending what the drug is, within 3 microdoses. So I mean, if that's really what happens, wow. I mean, that would really affect the obviously the big pharma industry. But in my opinion, do I care if it gets affected, especially when a lot of Americans are hooked on on opiates? And a lot of people that I know that served in the military were hooked on opiates too, because they hurt themselves, and one thing led to another with addiction. Endeavor also said the Democratic Party currently controls both chambers of the Colorado General Assembly. The House of Representatives has 65 members, all of whom are Democrats. Wow, all of them. The Senate consists of 35 members, Democrats. So are you saying that all of the, most of, a big portion of the representatives from Chicago are Democrat? And I mean, the problem is also when Trump does things like the Jesus thing, or does things like the Lion King video, or does things like what he did against Bad Bunny, what not so much Trump but his followers and with TPUSA did with the halftime show. Those are all opportunities for the Democrats to take advantage and use those to galvanize whatever type of core they want to have. And they don't do it. They just continue to go back to hate, Trump is bad, when you have the opportunity to challenge him in a different way, in my opinion. I can't say I like the way that the Pope responded to Trump, in the sense that he's just trying to speak of what he believes in and his faith and all that. That also may be looked at like a cop-out. I don't, I'm not Catholic, so I can't really make much of an opinion on it. I am also Christian though. But I mean, whoever's Catholic in the chat, I mean, in your opinion, I don't know. I mean, I don't understand why there's a back and forth between the Pope and the President of the U.S. that I'm not calling either figure out. I'm not saying Trump is wrong or the Pope is wrong. It's just confusing to me. It's just confusing to me. And that's why I'm not a big proponent of church and state being mixed. I don't think religion and politics should be mixed. I have my faith and my belief, but then again, a lot of people believe we're in a time where you have to, if you're trying to battle evil through politics, that's where evil is affecting us. And all I say is, everyone, if you believe in God and whatever belief you have, just pray for our leaders. That's just my opinion on all that. Just pray for our leaders and pray for good discernment from all of them. Endeavor saying illegal immigrants are free to get federal money from Colorado. Let me look that up, actually. I'm curious about that. And I may even put a video up on it if... Okay, so I just looked up on that. Yeah, that too, Mike. It could be something to where there's someone in the back manipulating him, and I mean, I just didn't want to say it because I'm not Catholic, and I don't really understand all of that's going on, but I felt that way. Also, it's like because the Pope is such a big figure that it's like they hijack him to go, okay, well now Trump is against all Catholics, or even all Christians, and that's why then now it just gives the left another reason to call us out. Like, how are you going to support Trump and he did that Jesus video? Aren't you a Christian? It's like, it's complete identity politics, which is what I was talking about before any of it happened. But at the same time, I don't think Trump helps himself by posting those memes either. Yeah, I just looked up on what you're saying, Endeavor. So I looked up illegal immigrants, Colorado. Colorado. So it says they're not eligible in Colorado to get SNAP benefits, but they have other systems to feed people who are immigrants. That's what it says online. Like local food banks, stuff like that. But if you have a link, Endeavor, please post it and I can look it up and I can play the video. Also, I want to tell all you guys that too. I want a lot of interaction from my people, from everyone in the chat. So there's gonna be days like today where I'll just put up a few videos, and if you want me to look up content and show everyone, please just put the link. Post the link in the chat, and I'll upload it and I'll watch the video with y'all, and then we'll all react. I'm looking just for engagement from everyone. We all just be a nice little cozy corner and just discuss everything. It's gonna be a lot less structured than most YouTubes, but it's because I want y'all to feel more the real aspect of it and just see my real reactions, and we all just have conversation on, you know, how you guys think and y'all's and everyone's reaction to whatever video was posted. So yeah, I mean, and anyone who wants to contribute their thoughts to the channel and want to add to add to what type of content you want me to put up, just let me know, send me the link, and we'll go from there. You could always put it in my chat. You could also put it in my community. You could post it as a comment, and what I'll do is I'll just use it for my next live and go off of that. He's saying anchor babies get them into every federal benefits. True. What was happening with that? I think didn't the Supreme Court vote on it on birthright citizenship? Was a decision made on that, or is that still in limbo? But yeah, you guys, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. I have to get up in the morning. I gotta go to work. But I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Shout outs to everyone: Tanya, Endeavor, For Real with Mike. Also, Dennis for stopping by. Love you guys. Anyone else who stopped by but didn't comment, also love you guys. I appreciate you guys' interaction with me, the engagement. And yeah, Mike, I'm gonna be thinking about doing something like that where I just probably go live after you, and we just continue to give everyone some content. And Mike, thank you once again for every time you shout me out on your YouTube. Thank you for posting my YouTube. Also, thank you to Dennis for doing that. And yeah, y'all have a good night, and I'll get back up with you guys tomorrow, maybe the next day. Have a good